Hello, live from the Command Center. It is the Command Center, episode 5. My name is Joseph Henry. I am your host for all things Washington related on this podcast. Hope everybody's had a good week or so. It's been a few days since our last episode. I'm trying to put these episodes pretty close together because a lot to talk about, and we're not even at the preseason game with the Ravens yet. The Commanders have just wrapped up back-to-back days of joint practice with Baltimore in Baltimore. We have not seen them do this yet in the Ron Rivera era, so a lot to talk about here. Got a lot of notes, but also a lot of news for Command the News, our segment. Some big news regarding the quarterback position and an official announcement, so we'll get all into that soon in Command the News, but before that, just some housekeeping things for the podcast. First off, you may notice some clutter in the background, some things out of place from last episode. Anybody who watched last episode knows that I'm currently in the middle of moving. I'm moving to a new apartment. So, the Command Center, technically the Command Center is not going to be there anymore with the painted walls and stuff like that. But the Command Center will always be wherever we are, the fans. So, don't worry about that. The Command Center is always going to be right here. But yes, maybe you see some things in the background, some things from my personal life. Just try to ignore that. Or maybe take interest. If you're interested in me as an actual person and not just an amazing Commanders podcast, you might notice I'm a little bit disheveled. I just woke up, but I slept in a little bit because I was up late watching the Baltimore practice footage. It's on the Ravens YouTube channel. So I watched that for a while. Took a lot of notes in my notepad about that. So there's going to have a lot to talk about there, but that's going to be a later on segment. But yes, what's going on in the world of podcasting for us before we move into the actual Commanders talk. So yes, I am moving. Things might seem a little bit disheveled. Got the microphone that my amazing girlfriend Emily gave to me. I'm sure everybody's noticed. Hopefully the audio is better. Still trying to figure out exactly which angles work best and stuff like that. Once we're set up in the new apartment, which should be within the next month or so, we're going to have a standard setup, and that's when we'll really start to get in on it. Not much else besides that. You see the Commanders mini helmet back there. I'm not wearing any Commanders merch right now, just a black t-shirt. But who knows, maybe I'll sneak something on for another segment and it'll be a little fun Easter egg there. But yes, hope everybody's good. Very important to do this episode after the joint practice before the preseason game because our last episode was about 50 minutes long and that's just way too long to consume all at once. So I want to do shorter, more episodes, so hopefully we can do that, and we'll do this and then an episode after the preseason game, and hopefully that we'll be able to get some good episodes out there. But yes, let's get into Command the News. What's going on in all things Commanders related right now? So the biggest news of it all today is August 18th, 2023. After the last football season ended, there were rumors coming out that Sam Howell was going to be the guy for Washington. And they didn't have interest in trading a guy for like Derek Carr or signing him because he was a free agent, a guy like Ryan Tannehill, no guy like Aaron Rodgers, really talented quarterbacks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Famer, but Washington did not want to mess around with any veteran quarterbacks, and they also weren't going to draft a guy. So it was already assumed it was going to be Sam Howell, and Sam Howell was deemed the starter from that point on, and it seemed like Ron was very confident in Sam and said, listen, this is Sam Howell's job to lose. And they kind of ran with that. And that was the way that the offseason unfolded, and they built around him, drafting DBs in the first 2 rounds, and then signing some offensive linemen, drafting offensive linemen. So a lot of stuff there, all to support Sam Howell being the starting quarterback. After the Baltimore joint practice, they asked Ron, hey, Ron, who's going to be the starting quarterback? Is it going to be Sam? Ron declined to answer. He said that he wanted to get together with Eric Bieniemy and the quarterback's coach and just talk about it, but on August 18th, 2023, Sam Howell from UNC, the bearded battler, I love this guy, has been named the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. So happy to have this happen. I mean, it's going to be an interesting season, people. I mean, we got everything in place. It's just, can this Sam Howell guy play? And I think he can. I mean, I've been getting very confident in him from the tape I've watched from practice, from the preseason, from joint practice. I think this guy can sling it. So I'm very confident. I love his demeanor. I love the way he carries himself. So he is our starting quarterback. No more question about it. I know some people outside the fan base thought it was a real competition between Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell, but it's not. It was never a competition. It was always going to be Sam. it was always going to be Sam. That was just something Ron likes to do. Ron always says it's a competition, but it's never a competition. It was not a competition last year between Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz. It was not a competition the years before that with Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen. None of that. It was not a competition between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke either. It's always been one guy set to be the starter, and Sam Howell delivers. He will be your Washington Commanders starting quarterback. Next up in Command the News, so there was a 2-day joint practice in Baltimore. It was really cool. They were at Baltimore. We're going to talk a lot about all the details from that days 1 and 2. Like I said before, it was on the Ravens YouTube channel that they streamed that. They played each other Monday night for preseason. That's going to be really fun. I'm going to have a post-game recap up for that in the following days after, just to let you know everything that's going to be happening with that. There were 2 fights, both on day 1 of practice. The first fight was between Tylan Wallace and Emmanuel Forbes, and the next between Mark Andrews and Danny Johnson. Seems like both fights were kind of started by the Ravens. Might be a little bit biased, but Emmanuel Forbes did get a little bit handy. We'll talk about this more. But anyway, the most interesting news is Mark Andrews and Danny Johnson fought. Danny Johnson, DB for the Commanders. Mark Andrews, the star tight end. Mark Andrews picked up Danny Johnson and body slammed him like it was WWE or something. I'm not sure how this guy's not in jail. And now Danny Johnson is day-to-day with a rotator cuff strain because of said fight. Absolutely horrifying, if you ask me. The fact that Mark Andrews is picking up this guy and throwing him around, and now he's injured. I mean, that feels like jail time. But obviously it's not. It's not jail time because things get crazy in practice. I mean, we saw Aaron Donald last year. I think he took his helmet off and tried to hit somebody with it, like swinging it around, and nothing happened. The NFL is really weird with that stuff. They don't care in preseason. But, yeah. So Danny Johnson is now day-to-day because Mark Andrews can't control his temper. We'll talk more about it later, but that's really what it boils down to, and I'm not too happy about that. Sadiq Charles is dealing with some leg and calf stuff. Washington is being very, very careful with him. The left guard drafted in the 4th round in the Chase Young Antonio Gibson draft class. This is kind of his first year that he's projected to start. It's really a battle between him and Chris Paul for the left guard spot, but it feels like if they're both healthy when the season starts, it's going to be Sadiq Charles, and they want it to be Sadiq Charles because he has that more experience. He's got some weird calf problems, and he got shut down in practice for no further potential injuries. He was still out there with the Ravens and stuff, but after a few series and towards the end of practice, they just shut him down and said, listen, just relax, just do whatever you got to do, and just, do the walkthroughs, but you're not going to, no contact. So they're taking it easy with Sadiq Charles. He's an extremely powerful, athletic guard. He's great for run plays. Not sure how he is in pass protection. But I'm very excited to see what we can get from him. He's a guy that we really need to be a star for this offensive line to take off. We could really use that. But, yeah, Sadiq Charles battling some injuries. I know Chase Young's got a little bit of neck stuff, but nothing big. Charles Leno was out the last few series in Baltimore and was today. There was a practice today. He was also not participating. So not sure if he's got an injury. Nothing's really come out, but maybe they're just trying to rest him. It was a long, hot, physical 2 days in Baltimore. I mean, I could just see tensions were high from the footage I was watching and from what all the reporters were saying. So they're probably just trying to rest him. And also Josh Harris, new majority owner of the Washington Commanders, was at practice with Joe Gibbs. I love Joe Gibbs. He was the one that delivered us our 3 Super Bowls. Hopefully that he can be a part of this franchise moving forward. I mean, I would love it if he became a part owner. Just happy to have him around, like hanging out, dealing with the team. I think that's really important, and I feel like the season's got so much momentum and juice to it already. And, we're just in August. So can you imagine if we don't... Like last year, we were in November with a winning record. Can you imagine if it's the same thing this year? I think the stadium's going to be absolutely packed. Only thing last season was we had Dan Snyder. The fans still didn't care. But really interesting stuff there. Yes, as I said, Sam Howell, new quarterback 1. I've got all my notes for the joint practice with the Ravens. Monday Night Football, I believe that is an 8 p.m. start time. Let me check that right now. Could be 7:30. That's going to be a very fun watch. It is 8 p.m. on ESPN on Monday, August 21st. I'm going to be watching that, posting about that on social media. Very, very excited. I know Sam Howell is going to be playing in that one on ESPN, so you don't need a weird subscription to watch or anything. And, yes, very, very excited. That's it for Command the News. And then now let's go into the next segment and talk about these practice notes. And welcome back here to the Command Center, live from the Command Center. We will be starting off our next segment talking about the Baltimore Ravens joint practice. A whole lot to talk about, 2 days worth of content to really fill in, so this one's going to be enjoyable. Also, I want to do a little quick housekeeping. I forgot. I go to Rutgers, and I'm on the Rutgers radio station. So I have a friend named Eddie Kalegi, who I'm also with on the radio station. He's a fantastic guy, very, very talented. He's going to do a lot in this field for a long time. But he's got a podcast, Sports Speak Live. I'm going to be going on that at 1:30 p.m. today. That episode should be out soon. I'll post about that online and stuff. But very excited for the opportunity to go on and talk to him. He's also got a friend, Tim. Not sure of Tim's last name, but he also seems like a very nice guy. I'll be sure to write it in the online. And he was actually he's got a good voice too. But yes, very excited for that. And now let's just get into the good stuff here. So the first notes I have and the first parts of practice there wasn't 11 on 11 yet. So I'm gonna try out this new thing to really talk about plays and stuff like that. So we'll see how this works. It might be a little bit of fun. Let's see if we can get that good. All right. So basically, the first drill in Ravens practice was there was a running back. Let me use this. Okay. There was a running back, right? Running back or a tight end or a fullback, and the linebacker would come in off a blitz and then just try to get him, right? And the running back, tight end, fullback would just have to block, okay? So the first linebacker up was Roquan Smith, obviously Ravens' star linebacker. This was the first play I saw on the live footage. And the first running back who got some reps was Brian Robinson. Now you might be thinking, Brian Robinson, big guy, thick guy, power back, he can hold his own. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Roquan Smith completely devoured him. I mean, he came in like a freight train and just knocked him back. I mean, if this is the running back we're talking about, probably all the way back here on the paper. But yes, very, very impressive from Roquan Smith. Let me know if you guys like this little method. I'm not high tech. I don't have any stuff that I can pull up. Maybe I'll get a whiteboard. That would be cool. Note to self, whiteboard. Let me write that down. But yes, that's just my way of showing you right now. So basically, this was the play. Yeah, running back and then linebacker, boom, and he got him, and he pushed him really far back. And I think this play was meant to just be about blocking and trying to contain blitz linebackers because, you know, on an offensive line, you're going to be getting those D-line matchups. And for a linebacker, is mostly going to be matched up on a running back or a tight end or a fullback. So Brian Robinson definitely struggled on that. That being said, Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. So it happens. And then John Bates also looked a little bit rough on these reps. But one guy who really stood out, and I know John Keim, of ESPN, the fantastic Washington reporter, reported about this, saying Alex Armah, the fullback, was very, very good in these reps. He's a very physical, productive player who's most certainly going to make the roster. And he's just really, really good. And he's also getting some tight end reps now that there's been some injuries, so I like him a lot, and I think he's going to have a good place on this team. But also, before we get into more of the specific details, I want to give you kind of an overview of practice. So Washington matched up with Baltimore, and Baltimore is one of the premier NFL franchises right now. I think that's fair to say. They're always very, very good. John Harbaugh has really made them a consistent, productive franchise these past 10 or so years. So for Washington to go into training camp and match up with them pretty well, I remember people were saying, well, J.P. Finley, the reporter for Washington, was saying that Washington looked like the better team through and through. On offense and defense. The defensive line was feasting, and the offensive line didn't look too bad. And then I heard other people saying that Washington looked competent, and they looked like they belonged. And just to hear that as a fan is a huge sigh of relief, because when you're going into Baltimore for training camp against guys like Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham Jr., Mark Andrews, I mean, they got Ronnie Stanley on that O-line, they got Odafe Owe, they got Roquan Smith, they got Marlon Humphreys. They got so much talent. And they're so well run that to say that they belonged, and some people to say that Washington was even better, is a huge, huge compliment and really shows you what they can do. I mean, they said guys like Howell looked really strong. Emmanuel Forbes was really good. The defensive line apparently was just feasting, just absolute pressure after pressure. Apparently Payne and Allen were really, really good. And that interior Ravens line is pretty good. They got guys like I'm trying to think. Do they still have Bradley Bozeman? I don't know. Ben Cleveland maybe. But I know that their offensive line is always rated very, very highly. So to hear that is a pretty huge deal. So let's get more into this. So, yes, Sadiq Charles was getting the 1 reps at left guard, so he was back from injury. Apparently, Cosme looked pretty good. I saw on a few reps. Cosme is probably going to be the most consistent offensive line guy because he was good at tackle. He was pretty good at tackle, right tackle, when he played right tackle for us. And then you slide him back inside, and he's looked good. I put Cosme plus because I just think, like, every time I watch him, I'm getting plus on Cosme stock. I have a Sam Cosme jersey, actually. You know what? When Sam Cosme was drafted, I love offensive linemen. I thought Sam Cosme was going to be such a great player, and I want to have a jersey. So I went to the stadium, and I specially made a Sam Cosme jersey. 1 second. Let me get that for you. All right. Here we go. Here is my Sam Cosme jersey. It is a Washington football team jersey, so it's not like the Commanders, but it's still pretty nice. So, yeah. Have a Sam Cosme jersey. I'm a huge Cosme fan. I think he's just a really talented offensive lineman. I think that he was great at Texas. So, yeah, Cosme's looked pretty good. Wiley struggled yet again. Andrew Wiley is really somebody I'm worrying about. The offensive line looked better, and Wiley only stood out to me negatively a few times, but I still do really worry about him holding it down at right tackle. I would almost prefer it if Cosme was at right and Wiley was at right guard and Cosme was at tackle, but you know, they're going with this matchup for a reason, and Wiley's a big guy, so they probably see some promise. So, yeah. Then, 11 on 11 started off, and they're mostly just showing it on the first-team Ravens offense versus the first-team Commanders defense. So that's what most of my notes are on, but there was still some offensive stuff to discuss. So, linebackers were just starting slow. I think that the linebacking core is so good against the run, but, I mean, like, your top 2 linebackers, Cody Barton and Jamin Davis, are just really slow, and they struggle against the pass. I know Cody Barton is really struggling against the pass, but Jamin Davis has looked really good against the pass. So, you know, I just worry about the linebacking core because one injury and it feels like we're really struggling. You know, I mean, you need more than one linebacker, and we've only got 2. Like, we need 3 or 4 starting middle linebackers, but Ron does not seem to... Ron does not seem to feel that way. You know, I talked in the last episode about how Anthony Walker came in for a visit, and he's a really fantastic linebacker for the Cleveland Browns, good veteran presence, but they just let him go without a contract. I don't see what the point of having cap space is if you're not going to sign these guys. Dude, Efe Obada, so good. The pass rusher that we've had for a few years now, I believe he came from overseas, and as part of that player program, he's been an absolute force to be reckoned with. He had a great few plays. I mean, just absolutely strutting inside and blowing up the offensive line. So that was really good. Forbes, just handsy, good PBUs, really good stuff. I'm really happy to see. One thing I've noticed that I talked about in my last episode was the fact that corners are coming into the NFL now and really just being productive from the start. There's no, like, you know, we used to see, like, what with guys like Jeff Okudah, that they'd come in and just get absolutely burnt. And it would take them so much time to grow and develop. But now you got guys like AJ Terrell, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, Pat Surtain that are coming in and just absolutely tearing it up. Not saying Emmanuel Forbes is on that level, but, I mean, to be coming out and being, like, in the leagues with Kendall Fuller and Benjamin St-Juste is a huge deal. So very happy with what I've seen from him. The D-line was just stuffing runs all day long. OBJ burned Kendall Fuller a little bit. Kendall Fuller struggled on day 1 a bit, but he picked it up on day 2. You know, to be the starting corner against a team like the Ravens, which has got some real offensive firepower, it's going to take a little bit out of you, but pretty good stuff by him there. Then Cam Curl was really, really good on Mark Andrews all day long. He's going to be needing a big contract extension soon. It feels like they have to get that done sooner rather than later because the longer they wait, they're not going to be able to get him for as good money. But honestly, the way Cam Curl's been playing, he deserves all the money in the world. I mean, he's just been so spectacular, and he was really, really good against Mark Andrews. Just a lot of good PBUs. Very, very impressive. So next up in my notes, we have the fight. Tylan Wallace, wide receiver number 16. He's still a young player. He was drafted a few years ago, I think. Kind of a late-round pick. He caught a quick pass, and Forbes was going after him, and then they got over the sideline, and Forbes tried to punch it out. Not a smart move by the young man, but, high temperatures, high emotions, it happens. But he was just trying to get the ball out maybe for the next play, but still, should not have done that at all. And then Tylan Wallace turned around and swung at him in the face, and then a full fight ensued, and all the benches cleared. So, the benches cleared, so to speak. Obviously, this is not the NBA, but not great there by Forbes, but Tylan Wallace really took it to the next level with a huge swing, and then things escalated quite a bit. And then Diami Brown had a play with the twos, a really, really bad drop that I noted. One thing that I want to talk about is that I feel like with the scheme, because one thing I'm always looking at, since it's a new Eric Bieniemy offense, is the scheme. Like, how are they playing? What's this new offense look like? And one thing I want to note, and that's why it's so interesting to watch the preseason games, because it's a whole new play calling, is that they're always moving the pocket. Now, that's something that we see them do with the Chiefs, but also not a whole lot with Eric Bieniemy. I think part of the reason why is because this offensive line is kind of a weakness right now. When you look at the offense, that is probably one of the biggest weaknesses. That alongside tight end, Logan Thomas did not play at all in these joint practices as he's still dealing with some injuries. He's always a little bit banged up, so not sure how much he can be counted on moving forward. But he's a great player when healthy, but he's also extremely old now, so we'll see. But yes, always moving the pocket, always moving the quarterbacks. Saw us with the second team with Jacoby Brissett, and then saw us with the third team with Jake Fromm. Very, very interesting stuff. And then Cole Turner, the tight end, was playing with the ones and the twos because, Logan Thomas isn't there, so Cole Turner would normally be the backup tight end, and then John Bates would be the third. And Logan Thomas was out, so Turner was getting the reps with the ones and the twos. And I think that Turner is more of a traditional receiving tight end. And although Bates has really made full efforts to become a complete tight end, as John Keim said on one of his podcasts, I'm paraphrasing him here. I don't want to take credit for anything that's not mine. But Bates has always been a blocking tight end. And, he's apparently put in a lot of work to become more of a whole threat. But Cole Turner is just a huge receiving threat. So who knows? But he also struggles with blocking and then just some other stuff in general. So this team really needs Logan Thomas. And if he's not going to become a more healthy player, ever since the 7-9 season when we went to the playoffs, he's just been hurt and hurt and hurt. So we really, really need him to be a healthy player, especially for Sam Howell, who could use that safety net of a tight end quarterback, a young quarterback. Gibby, very physical, nice drop, good blocking from the line on the left side, really impressive stuff. He had a really nice run and just laid a boomstick. A lot of motion with the offense as well. They move guys around. They send them back and forth. Very impressive stuff. And then I know that Sadiq Charles gave up a sack on a play. This is just so many different plays, so I'm just going through some of my notes for every play, but not really super crucial info. If you're a diehard Commanders fan, for me, though, this stuff is like gold. Odafe Owe had a really nice sack. That was on Sadiq Charles. And then on the next play, he had a huge run stuff. So back-to-back really great plays from the young Ravens player. I believe he was a late first-round pick a few years ago. Let me just get some water real quick. Didn't want anybody to hear the audio. That would have been a little bit awkward. A lot of motion. Odafe Owe, good plays. And then Jamin Davis had a huge pop. Big hit stick on Mark Andrews. Very, very impressive stuff there. Like I said, Jamin Davis has been probably the best all-around linebacker on the field. I mean, that's not really much of a bold statement. He's been pretty good. I mean, last year he really took a step up from his rookie year where he struggled like crazy. And it looks like he's been pretty good, but we need more. We need more. Cody Barnes seems to struggle against the pass. We need more linebackers, but I'm not worried about Jamin Davis. I'm worried about everybody outside of him and what would happen if he has a bad game or isn't as good as he was last year. But I think that he'll be able to keep up that kind of production. Aguilar beat Kendall Fuller pretty bad. That was a really bad play. And then that was an 11-on-11s. And then we had some one-on-ones wide receiver versus corner matchup. Terry McLaurin beat Marlon Humphrey pretty bad. Jahan Dotson beat Darryl Worley. And then Samuel beat Aldarius Washington. Obviously, those last two guys aren't super well known, at least by me. But Marlon Humphrey's a really big deal. And I think Terry's just one of the best players on the field whenever he steps on any field. I think he's just uber talented. And, Marlon Humphrey now suffered an injury on the second day of practice, so he didn't practice. But on that first day, he was his normal Marlon Humphrey self. I hope that he gets better. Be praying for him for a quick recovery. But, yeah, Terry did a pretty good job against him. Also a good job by Samuel and Jahan. I think Howell loves Jahan Dotson so far. And that's something that's really exciting just to see this young guy get kind of force-fed. And then I think this trio of wide receivers is really, really good. And I'm so excited to see what can happen if they can really break out. And I think that, Eric Bieniemy made so much happen with guys, in Kansas City, like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, what's his name? Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, these guys I think are better than those players. And if they can get that going, it's going to be really, really impressive. Forbes had a lot of good PBUs, really good stuff. And then the next fight came in. Mark Andrews body slammed Danny Johnson, the cornerback, because I think it was just a big hit. I don't think Danny Johnson did anything wrong. It seems like Andrews kind of just lost his temper, which was a little bit frustrating because now Danny Johnson suffered an injury because of that. I know the players... Excuse me. I know the players were very unhappy with this. There was a lot of, about a fight, aggression, stuff like that. So not great stuff there. Danny Johnson is now day-to-day with a rotator cuff strain, so obviously very frustrating to have that happen to a player because of Andrews. But it is what it is. This stuff happens in training camp. I know there's a lot of people overreacting to these fights saying, oh, we need to control ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Listen, everybody fights during these joint practices. Every single year I'm seeing stuff about guys fighting. I mean, guys are even fighting in their own practices in training camp. Guys like Travis Kelce was punching teammates. It just happens. It's something that, it happens in training camp. You're back to playing football. It's so hot out. You're sweating. It's intense. You're getting punched. You're getting picked on. You're not doing your best job, and then you lose your temper. It's just something that happens, and it happens every year. It's really not a big deal at all. But this is a big deal. The fact that Danny Johnson has now suffered a pretty big injury because of Mark Andrews, not great. Very frustrating and not happy to hear that at all. Hope Mark Andrews realizes the error of his ways and reaches out to Danny Johnson. But didn't really feel like... In the first fight, I think Emmanuel Forbes did too much and started, and he should not have done that. But in the second fight, Mark Andrews, you got to be better, man. You got to be better. I was going to originally draft him in one of my fantasy leagues, but now I'm not so sure. You can't have that on the locker room. All right, next page. All right, this is the day 2 notes. That was all from day 1. Forbes got burned by Odell, but Lamar really struggled with just accuracy. And then Forbes recovered. And so Odell burned Forbes. Lamar underthrows it. And then Forbes catches up to him and breaks up the pass. So good hustle there by Forbes to just keep going. I mean, when a guy like OBJ burns you, it's probably easy to just give up on the play. But he hustled after it, and Lamar threw an inaccurate ball. So really great stuff there by Forbes. Washington O-line loves to move pocket. So, yeah, that's something we were talking about a few minutes ago. Washington loves movement. They love sliding these guys around. They love putting their quarterbacks in motion. Really great stuff. Amazing stuff from Benjamin St-Juste. He was absolutely on fire on the second day. I mean, really, really impressive. I think if St-Juste can stay healthy, he can be a real breakout candidate for this Commanders team. I mean, last year, towards the end of the season, he was doing this lock thing, and he was locking guys up. I mean, you can't even say that's disrespectful when it's just the truth. He was absolutely hammering guys. I mean, just really fantastic stuff. Really, he's tall, he's long, he's athletic, he's thin. Him and Forbes have a lot of reach. Kendall Fuller picked things up on day 2. This cornerback trio could be very, very dangerous. Cam Curl, nice PBU. St-Juste again stood out to me in my notes. Marcus Kemp had a really great catch with the second team. It was ruled incomplete at first, but if that had been... I rewatched it, and that easily would have been a catch if there was reviews and stuff, so really great stuff there. And then Andrew Wiley had a really bad run block, and then just Howell loves Dotson. And that was really all of it for my day 2 notes. Everything was kind of the same as day 1. I mean, guys like Kendall Fuller stepped up their game. Forbes had some nice plays. St-Juste really stood out, but basically same old, same old. I mean, the same stuff we've been seeing in preseason. Offensive line struggles. They were a little bit better, though. They were a little bit better here than they were in Cleveland. A bit better, actually. I know that they're working on some new combinations. They want a guy like Ricky Stromberg, the former third-round pick from this season, to be able to play guard if possible before he becomes the starting center. I know that they like him a lot, but there's still a lot for him to work on. So they're trying to get him developed. Maybe we should have gotten him more action to start off the year. But yeah, he's going to be a good player, but not sure if he's going to be able to contribute that much this season. Braden Daniels, the fourth-round tackle, nowhere near ready to play. He's just getting pancaked by everybody, but that happens with tackles sometimes, especially late-round picks. He's going to need a lot of time to grow and develop, so we'll see how that turns out. But he's going to be good, but Stromberg is going to play this year and probably going to be a pretty good player. Just needs more reps and time to grow. Sadiq Charles, Chris Paul battling for that left guard spot. It's going to be Charles if he's healthy, but if not, I think they're pretty confident what Paul can offer. They love Cosme at right guard. I think Gates has been good at center, but not amazing. I think they probably missed Chase Roulier back when he was prime Chase Roulier a bit. Right tackle with Wiley's been a question mark, and Leno's been not himself, but he wasn't himself all of last year, so we'll see. With the offensive line, I think it's just going to come down to wait and see. It's going to be a really good test on Monday night against the Ravens to kind of see how that ends up going. And then, yeah, just put Howell loves Dotson. He loves throwing him the football. Overall info, offensive line getting better. Just talked about that. Oh, almost forgot about one of the biggest storylines. 7th round defensive end Andre Jones was getting reps with the ones with Washington. He was our pick, our defensive end, and he was insane. Like, he was so ridiculously good and really just shoving through guys, just rushing, just hustling. I mean, Ron Rivera stood down and said, like, we have been honestly shocked at how good he's been, and that's something we have to keep an eye on. Like, Andre Jones has been so unbelievably good, and to have him on the team as, like, an additional pass rusher, the 5th pass rusher. I mean, you have guys like Casey Toolhero and James Smith-Williams. Like, those are guys that now jobs could potentially be in jeopardy from Andre Jones. I mean, this late-round guy, he's been working a lot with Ryan Kerrigan. He's been so good. So very impressive stuff there. He didn't show up on any plays I watched, but I've heard a lot about it, and I've seen some clips online, and this guy's really disgustingly nasty. Like, so good. Very impressive stuff here. Very impressive. Again, work with the ones. I think that if Andre Jones turns out, he's gonna play a lot this year because he's shown so much. I think it's going to be a big game for him on Monday. I think he's going to get a lot of action. And then also, I think if Andre Jones has a really good season, that could potentially impact what happens with Chase Young and Montez Sweat, right? Because those are two guys that are free agents this season. Is Montez Sweat? Yeah, Montez Sweat's a free agent. So these are two guys that are going to be free agents. Like, are you going to bring back both of them? Are you going to be paying 4 defensive linemen $20 million a year? So we're going to see. But I think Andre Jones could potentially take... Like, if Chase Young and Montez Sweat both have really good seasons, I think maybe you tag and trade Sweat and you re-sign Young, and then Andre Jones becomes the starting defensive end. I think that sounds like a pretty good deal. If he has a good season. This is all, if. So we'll see. But you're going to wrap it up now. Howell looked really good. Had not been named quarterback 1 after practice, but then was then named quarterback 1. And then... Yeah, Ron wants the ball to come out faster from Howell, but one thing we've heard a lot from Howell... One second. One thing we've heard a lot about with Howell is how quickly he self-corrects. He sees he messes up something, and then he's right back to it. So, very impressive stuff with Howell, and I think that he's going to be a real fantastic player for us. Now that he's named the quarterback 1, I think that's such a huge deal. And he loves just fixing his mistakes and just getting better. So, very happy and excited stuff here. But, yeah, just really great stuff from Howell. I think the coaching staff loves him. Very happy that he's been named the starter. I think they impressed him in that Dallas game in Week 18. That kind of won him the job for this season. But, yes, that's really all of the stuff from Ravens practice. Just to preview the Week 18 game, the preseason game a little bit, Sam Howell will be starting. I'm going to have a lot of coverage of that, and that's really it. I'm not sure the Ravens will play a lot of their stars, but we will see. But Hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the Command Center. Hope you are good. Very happy to talk to you guys. Like, subscribe, comment, DM me. I would love to have some people on the show if you want to talk. And make sure you stay tuned to the social media for Sports Speak Live. I'll be going on that soon. But yes, hope everybody's having a good one. And I'll see you next time live from the Command Center. This is Joseph Henry. Have a good one.